Hi, what's up, guys? This is Maxwell Media Inc. I'm your host, Sir Maxwell. Today, we are starting something new. 2023, I'm experimenting with different mediums. It's taking me longer to make more longer scripted content, so I'm thinking about just doing more unscripted stuff. You know, I have some things that work with certain people, and I had this really cool idea. Well, actually, it wasn't my idea. It was Al's idea to kind of do this podcast situation, and I really liked it, so we're doing it. And I guess before we get into the topic, because there's a lot to talk about, y'all. Al, why don't you introduce yourself, who you are, etc.
Hi, I am Al, Exhausted Demi-Man. I'm 25 years old. I got a degree in writing, literature, and publishing with a specialization in creative fiction. I've known Maxwell a few years here through the Rwby fandom. I kind of have a lot of... I hyperfixate on a lot of different things, especially right now. My current hyperfixation is DC Comics and Marvel comics, not the MCU. That we'll get into that. I'm of Judeo-Christian in background, and I'm autistic, and I love the horror genre.
Well, those are all fun things, and I feel like throughout this you will get to know Al better, because I feel like, I don't know, you just have to experience it, because I just feel like Al has this very specific, unique quality of being able to just break things down in a way that you wouldn't necessarily think about, but they make perfect sense when he explains it. You'll just have to experience it for yourself. But we're here today because we're kind of reframing the conversation. Because, okay, so a couple of years ago, Rwby Volume 7 happened. Lots of crazy stuff happened with character Clover, and we're going to talk about that. But I actually kind of thought this was a perfect opportunity to kind of reframe the conversation. Number one, because it's been a couple of years now. But number two, Rwby Volume 9 is kind of coming out next month. And I know I started out doing a lot of Rwby stuff, but I'm not really excited. I'm not hype, maybe because it's been years, and I'm just kind of am I still, and everybody I know is pretty much we're not really excited. All of my Rwby tuber friends, everybody I know who's does Rwby content on YouTube, they've kind of had to shift to other things because it's well, there's kind of nothing to talk about, so we kind of have to move on, so
yeah, and I think there's been a lot of things, first off, the fandom is a chaotic mess. Literally, I don't even go into the fandom anymore, but I have friends who are still in it, and every time I peek in, it's a nightmare situation. Someone's stalking someone is trying to dox someone else is accusing someone of racism and homophobia over literally nothing. But then when there actually is an instance of bigotry, they're no one does anything. And that's just on the fandom side. We again, I think the time has definitely hit. You're right. It's been 2 years since the last 2021 with Volume 8, but Volume 8 was bad. I'm gonna get that out of the way. I don't care if anyone comes at me in the comments, but it was a badly written season, and it really shows. And I think another big thing is just it was not providing anything meaningful in terms of takeaway when Volume 8 ended. There was no really great LGBT representation. We're still waiting on Bumblebee. It's been the show's been running for over a decade, and we're still waiting on that. And yet, so many other TV shows are doing sapphic rep, the Owl House. The fact the Owl House came out and did so much, then just making Rwby look kind of embarrassing for not delivering, and other shows doing that. it elicited this passion that like for that I think like a lot of like it became a joke in the fandom. I'm like, oh, are they gonna queer bait again with Blake and Yang? Are they stretching it out another year? Are we ever gonna get it? And I think that's my take, at least a little bit. Like, what do you think, Max?
So for me, I got into Rwby like, I want to say my sophomore year of high school. I think this was like right as volume 4 was ending. And I was just kind of really taken in by it, really infatuated, like, oh, this is unique, cool, different. I started watching Rwby week to week when volume 5 came out. Okay, this is interesting, this is cool. And then I got more into the fandom, and at first it was really positive. I had a good time, it was cool, it was great. But then volume 5, the middle of it, because a lot of volume 5 is talking about racism and, you know, white fang, all of that stuff. And I was just kind of like, this is kind of not how you talk about like racism. Like, and this isn't me like as a person who's an expert or an activist or anything. I'm just like a regular black person, and I'm looking at this like, but that's not how that works. And it was kind of weird because I would like be talking about that, like, ooh, maybe this isn't how this is supposed to go. And I just got like lots of backlash, whether it would be from racist YouTubers who like didn't understand how racism worked, or like other people in the fandom that equated me criticizing the racism plot to me specifically criticizing Blake. And then it's like, I feel like a lot of people have these problems with characters where they kind of project onto the character and they stop becoming a character and they become an insert for this person's emotions or whatever was going on in this person's life. And I think in some ways that could be a good thing, but in a lot of ways that can be a really bad thing, because it stops you from taking in like really good criticism that can make you grow and be a better person. So it's like all of these criticisms, like Blake isn't really active in this racism plot. She doesn't really make any sense. She doesn't know what peaceful protest is. She doesn't know about any forms of nonviolent aggression or any of that. She don't know nothing about that. And the story doesn't know nothing about that. The white writers, they know nothing about that. And me, as well as other people, are calling that out. And just throughout the story and throughout the show, we're getting all this backlash. We're being called abuse apologists. You know, oh, you like Adam, da. And it was very disheartening because at the time I really loved it. I loved the show. I wanted to see the show get better. And it was just sort of like the people who were around me, especially because the brand of a lot of Rwby fans was leftist, socialist. We stand for POC. We stand for queer people. We stand for all of this. But then when queer, black, POC people were like, hey, this is wrong. This isn't it. We're getting ate up. And I think H Bomber Guy, I think about a year or two ago, H Bomber Guy put out this big video about how Rwby disappointed him and yada yada yada. And people really just kind of ate him up and just dismissed him as a hater. And you know, how he's like, and they said he was all anti this and that because it was a women's show and all these other things. And you know, hate them. And this is the thing with the hate them. So, those of y'all who know, I'm really good friends with Unicorn of War, and they regret sort of coining this term of the hatedom. But from my perspective and from their perspective, the hatedom was really people who had these bad faith criticisms of the show that were often kind of right-wing. Like, Rwby is too socialist, there are too many gay people in it, it's too, you know, left-leaning, you know, it's too woke. Those are the kind of criticisms that you would expect from someone who was in the hatedom, quote-unquote. So, you know, it was kind of weird that they were trying to be like, oh, H Bomber Guy's in the hatedom, but H Bomber Guy is one of the biggest left tubers on LeftTube. Like, he runs in the Lindsay Ellis circles, in the Jessie Gender circles, in the Cat Black circle. Those are the circles he runs in, so why would y'all even... The fandom just sort of like, it just kind of turned on anybody who really didn't unequivocally praise the show. Even people who like in the middle who I really respect, like people like Batman Falling, or Detrimental Critter, or Celtic Phoenix. I respect the hell out of them, but a lot of people just really eat them up because they got on the show a lot, and I didn't like that, and it especially hurt as a black queer person that I'm trying to talk about things like Bumblebee being shit and it's not, giving what it's supposed to give, and I'm being called homophobic because I'm like, hey, it's been years, when are we gonna have this? And I'm getting attacked for basically wanting better for my community. It just got too much.
Yeah. It's, and the thing is, I think it shows like how really, I'm gonna say it, stupid a lot of the people like who claim to be leftist and claim to be like progressive in this like really don't understand what that means. Like I'm saying this as someone who is a like a hardcore progressive, okay? This is something I care about. This is something like, and it's really annoying and aggravating how people kind of keep coming into this and being like, because you don't support this media, you are home. I'm like, no, like, okay, there's a, like, not everyone who criticizes is right wing. And in fact, it kind of just shows like how lacking in an actual leftist perspective if so many people are. Like, for me at least, like, one thing that really pissed me off a lot about Volume 7 and Volume 8 is a lot of people were like, Rwby's doing such a great deconstruction of fascism. I'm like, no it isn't. And I'm saying this as the grandson of a Holocaust survivor. Like, my grandfather literally lost everything to a fascistic regime. And like, I didn't know about this until like my friend told me, like, and then I asked a bunch of my other friends about this, about like, like The Sound of Music, and like people will like go on and on about it, but like I didn't realize this, but like people didn't ever watch this. A lot of people don't watch the second half of The Sound of Music because it actually gets into the whole thing with the Nazis. He's like, a lot of parents just turn it up, but my parents, my father especially, as much of a piece of shit he is, made sure me and my sister watched the whole thing. She made sure that we were educated on fascism, and like the oppression like my grandfather went through and why. Like so I have a pretty strong understanding of these politics and this like stuff because it literally is my family history. And it was really annoying seeing a bunch of people with no comprehension of this, like being like, oh, Ironwood is a fascist and anyone who supports or likes him is a fascist, or it like saying that the writing deconstructs fascism. I'm like, this isn't fascism. This is just like there's so many ways I could break into the politics of how Ironwood is not a fascist, or if he's supposed to be, he's a really bad handling of betrayal, because like fascists know what they're doing. Fascists do not come in with good intentions. In fact, this is actually kind of just to me showing how really tone deaf and stupid like the writers of Rwby were on this topic, because they kept going in with like I didn't have a choice, or like I was pushed into this corner, or in being a fascist or whatever. And I'm like, that's not how it works, okay? Like, a lot of fascists specifically do work to co-opt up to like free elections and other systems of of equal distribution, and also specifically target minorities. And like Ironwood didn't really do any of these things. Like I remember there was a really great like Tumblr essay I read where this person like broke down how like Rwby uses the aesthetic of fascism without actually delving into it, and without actually like meaningfully, because they don't want to like get too problematic, quote unquote. But like the thing is, if you're portraying a fascistic dictator and a fascistic regime, you have to actually portray it as such. Like, and I like it's frustrating to me seeing how like so many people, even from other marginalized identities, like keep shilling for the show without any actual understanding, or without actually listening to people who are like criticizing it, who do have a grasp and understanding of the subject. And like, I'm also going to be upfront here. I don't like the way that people keep like complimenting these writers on that, especially when the series like Rwby and like other writers on Rooster Teeth have a history of anti-Semitism. Especially like in Camp, like they had an entire character literally whose joke was just that he sounds and looks and acts like Hitler, and the fact they based an entire character, Coco Adele, off of Coco Chanel, an actual Nazi who literally paid for the leader of the SS's funeral and was instrumental in the fall of Madrid. Like these people don't like actually like look into this stuff, and if they did even for a second, they would see how just truly terribly it handles this. Like oh, cameras and big screens telling us to do not worry. I'm like, it's just, I'm like, that's not fascism. That's not fascism. That is like taking the Cliff Notes aesthetics from 1984, or that's not getting into like the state, like the state being an oppressor, and like it also just happens overnight in Atlas, which is also like the thing is, fascistic regimes happen a lot more incrementally until it's just taken over. But like in Rwby, it just like Ironwood is like a perfectly reasonable person until he just suddenly goes into left field and becomes a full-on fascist. And anyone who like tries to argue with me, well, he would do it, like he was the only one offering a consolidated plan. In fact, honestly, the first scene we get with him in Volume 7 makes it pretty clear he's not a fascist, because like he is trying to reestablish communication with other countries. And the thing is, fascism is almost always either conquest based or isolationist. Like that's like how like a whole thing about fascism is hyper-nationalism, and like keeping out the like other ideas from other countries to get a stronger control on the population in the state. So the entire idea that Ironwood is trying to reestablish communication and thus further the introduction of ideas it shows this show has no proper political comprehension of how fascism works.
Or really just like how anything be working. Like these things like fascism, racism, abuse, hell, even like being a fucking queer person, they don't even know how that works. Because it'll just be like, oh, well, when is it gonna happen? Well, you know, I don't know, like maybe like a slow burn, and you know, like you have to like take your time with these things. And it's like, I've been saying this for years, but just something so frustrating about like Rwby and relationships is that they don't know how relationships work. Like in the real world, people just sort of like date. Like this whole idea of like, well, why can't they but bake a Blake and Yang to state? Well, and then like when you say that, they'll act like you're saying that you want some sort of like porn thing. No, bitch. Like they can just date. Like people.
Yeah, like that's like the thing that really annoys me so much is that people, like, I've had people say that to me, like, what, do you want to watch two women make out? I'm like, I am gay. I am not into women sexually.
Don't nobody want to see all that. Nobody want to see all that.
Like, I don't want to see any of that. Like, but like, I want representation. I want nice things. And like, I think the fact that Harley Quinn like literally delivered on Harley and Poison Ivy getting together in like less than 6 months, it had 2 seasons come out in less than 6 months. And meanwhile, like Rwby has been going for over a decade now, and we still don't have Blake and Yang. They've had not like 8 volumes, like to do this. And even during Volume 8, they broke up Blake and Yang again for most of the volume. And I'm like, you could have used that time to build their relationship, but no, they just gave it all to Ren and Nora. They gave the straight couple the primary focus, which is super annoying and aggravating to me. I'm like, the fact that Ren and Nora are not even main characters. They do not have any real input. Like, there was all these theories back when Volume 7 and 8 were coming around that maybe Nora was actually from Mantle or Atlas, and there would be like a backstory, or she would be like the Winter Maiden's granddaughter, which were actually interesting ideas. But like, Nora never ended up actually like all she really does in volume 8 is open a door, then bed rest for the rest of the volume. That is like, she really does nothing else of major contribution, and that time could have really gone to Blake and Yang, to actually portraying them and their relationship as the main focus, but the writers chose to prioritize a straight couple who are not among the main 4 girls.
But my thing is this, like, portray their relationship. They really don't have a relationship. They have discourse. They have, okay, Bees versus Adam controversy. They have, people on Twitter arguing, well, Blake is actually not a good person, or Yang is actually not a good person. And it was just, I really just feel like they do the bare minimum with that relationship and then tease us with the idea of, oh, maybe they'll get together. But first, buy our $80 t-shirt. And it's like...
That just sent me over the... I'm like, you're literally baiting. You are literally asking people to spend $80 fucking on a jacket or something? And you're not even delivering on the relationship. At least with Harley and Poison Ivy, they're actually in a relationship. You buy a Harley TV show, or like a Harley DVD set, or a jacket, or like, and it's not even just in that one medium. They're in the comics too. They're a couple. They're like in several different comics, actually, even in video games. Meanwhile, like Blake and Yang, in the actual source material they're not together. And like, you shouldn't be demanding people's money, especially for such an overinflated price as $80. Imagine the mailing price added onto that $80 jacket. Like, geez Louise, like these. I don't know what was going on in anyone's head there, but like, you could just see, like, and this isn't even the first time they've done that, or just with them. Like, don't get me started in the whole fair game Amity Arena bullshit. Like, this stuff was just, like, there was something very insincere and gnarly going on within Rwby and Rooster Teeth's, like, all of it.
Yeah, it just gets very weird. I was actually working on a video essay a couple years back about, like, Bumblebee and queerbaiting and all of that. I stopped that project specifically because I'm like, wait a minute. Why am I working so hard, overtime, doing all of this shit just so I can try to prove that this is queer? We know it's queerbaiting. We know it's queerbaiting. They know it's queerbaiting. They just don't care. And I think that's fine. I think, like, if you want to spend $80, I don't have $80 for nobody's t-shirt that's not even well designed. I don't. But if you do, that's your business. I'm gonna leave you alone. Actually, on Twitter, I left the Rwby fandom years ago, and my Twitter is still Twitter. It's still Twitter. Don't get me wrong. It's still bullshit. But I've had such a better time. I have more fun on Twitter than I had when I was in the Rwby fandom. Because when I was in the Rwby fandom, really, and that's another thing I want to talk about. The Rwby fandom on Twitter every single day, whether it was hiatus or not, it just was always a fight. There's always a villain of the week. There's always one person that said one thing that we all have to dogpile. And ooh, somebody said that. Like, literally every day I would wake up to a new controversy, and it would just be like, why don't y'all just block these people? And then it would really just come down to, they didn't like your fave, or they don't like your favorite couple, or they said that Miles and Carrie's writing sucks. And it's like, okay, and like, it was just, there's just such a sense of like anti-community, if that makes any sense, where like we all have to come together to be negative, like whether we like someone or. I think there was this one guy on Twitter, I don't know how he's doing. I haven't checked on his account in years. I think I blocked him actually because I was just so tired. CJ something. This, if you know, you know, on Twitter. I'm just using him as an example. Every single day, he would just be in some mess where he would say something and everybody from the whole Twitter community would have to rush to be like, did you see what he said? And he said Blake and Yang aren't even a cute couple. Like, girl, who cares? I don't, and I think there was something else he was in that was actually bad. But most people just kind of rush to his account to do shit for, you know, oh, he said this or he said that. And I'm just like, but why don't we just block these people that we don't like? There's just such a sense of like dogpiling or anti-shit. Or even with like Thomas, I'm not gonna get too much. I'm not really gonna get into their business, but I did notice like whenever they would talk about Rwby publicly, it would always, post the White Fang video that they did. Whenever they would talk about Rwby, it would always just be like some attack. I think like when they did the Making Peace with Rwby video, there was a whole like subreddit dedicated to like hating it. It's like, but why can't we just like talk about what we don't like? And if you don't like that content, leave it alone. I don't. And I could see if it was like harmful. I could see if it was like, oh, you're spreading out bigotry. But it's really just them saying that they don't really engage with the show the way they used to.
Yeah, it's like, it was not an attack. It was very like meh, like not do, like it's not condemning. It's not like, it's just like someone's like allowed to express not feeling enthusiastic or not liking something anymore. And like the fact that people invested so much energy into being hateful and being nasty and gnarly about this, I'm like okay, like it just gets to the point where I'm like, people are like claiming like negativity or evil or like when there's no actual basis, where I'm like, there's not an actual problem here except that they are not jumping for joy 24/7. And that's, it's a very poisonous mindset to go in and just hate, and the thing is, I think it also shows like a deep insecurity on a lot of people in this fandom. They feel the fact that they feel the need to go after people so much. Like in other fandoms I'm in, when people like have a take you don't agree with, they're like, oh, well, like it's either like, oh, well, I'm curious as to why you think that, and like there's like an exchange, and you can be like, well, like even if you don't agree, you can be like, well, I don't really see it that way. Leave it at that and move on. Or like, well, that's, yeah, like that's either, or you just ignore it, like, or you're just like, yeah, I'm not wasting my time, but like in the Rwby fandom, everything's an issue, everything's a fight, and it's because I think a lot of people in this fandom think that Rwby was some like beacon of progress or whatever, and other people in there were like grassroots progressives, because like we've like been sort of trained by like a lot of leftist stuff is like to hate corporations, which you should. I'm saying corporations are terrible, but like recognizes, like, this was also something I noticed, which was really weird. People don't really seem to get the Rooster Teeth is a corporation. In fact, it's a sub like corporation of like Warner Brothers and AT&T, which is like one of the biggest corporate, like, I'm like, they're not grassroots anymore. They have not been so for a while. And like, considering all the numerous abuse scandals, which I don't think we even have time to get into, but turns out Rooster Teeth was never that like beacon of progressiveness. We even like, there were even voices within Rooster Teeth, LGBTQ plus people who came out and were like, yeah, they specifically used the fact I was queer to seem more progressive than I actually was, and then would just throw me back into work. You know, like this company, this show, and honestly, the show was never delivering. The show was never really delivering. Like, Ilya was there for a season. Saffron and Tara, like, only got to kiss once. There was, like, no other gay rep in the show aside from May Marigold, old as trans. And, like, even then, May Marigold should have gotten more things to do in Volume 8, and maybe even more so in Volume 7. But, like, she wasn't really allowed to. And like, the fact that they had her leave right before the whole big, like, episode that happened in the manor with the rest of the cast, the fact they exercised her from that when her powers with, like, the invisibility fields could have come in handy. And it just shows how little they really gave a shit about representation. And then Scarlet David, and like I've had like some people in like who are queer but not gay, like a gay mask or gay man, like argue with me that it's good representation. I'm like, I really feel like you need to shut the fuck up unless you are actually like a gay man. Like please. Like, Scarlet was not good representation, even if we could ever actually call him representation. I'm not reading that book, but I know people who did read the book, and they were like, okay, he's ambiguously gay at best. Like, it never had, and like, again, I'm also kind of past the point of white gay characters. There's like, I'm sorry, but I need some Jewish gay people. I need some, like queer people, actual queer people of color. Like, I'm past Heartstopper. That's what I'm leaving it at. Yeah, it's just very frustrating. That like the fandom tried to claim that, oh, it's this, like, we're not getting representation anywhere else, but I'm like, we actually are. There's like a lot of representation in different areas, and you know what? It's not always great, but you know what? It's something. And Rwby is just a whole lot of nothing, or a whole lot of this could have been done way better. Like, you know, I just don't like the fact She-Ra, Steven Universe, or like Kipo, all these other, Dragon Prince are all coming in and showing up. Like, that's how you do a trans character. Like, let's be like season 4 of the Dragon Prince with like Claudia's boyfriend. That is trans representation. That is something meaningful.
Amen. A fucking man. Yes.
Like even some like reading like in DC Comics recently, there's actual like really good trans representation that like Dreamer, like from the CW TV show, is getting like a big push in the DC Comics right now, with with John Kent's run, and she was even supposed to lead a JLQ comic that sort of got canceled, but she's gonna be in Lazarus Planet. She got a bunch of gorgeous covers. Like, holy crap, these things are gorgeous. And they're even introducing a character who uses he/they pronouns and is in his trans mask in Lazarus Planet coming up. Like, there's so much actual good representation. Like, and then I think there could be a lot more. There really should be a lot more in a variety of different ways. But like, it's just, I'm sorry, but like, if in the Rwby fandom demanding to me that I go and read a book that's not even like going to actually focus on a gay character specifically, and is more going to focus on his straight white friend, or I don't know, like, I'm not like Sun on all aesthetic like reasons to me outside of his name looks pretty white. Like I know some people have tried to argue that he's Chinese, which I can sort of get, but like, if I'm being honest, based on appearance alone, not really buying it hugely, especially like considering his actor is a white person, and everyone keeps saying the only character that is actually voiced by an actual Asian person is white, with like Ryan Rose and James Ironwood. And I'm like, even though he was literally like that character was literally based on the voice actor, so it's just, I'm not like, so like demanding that I read this book for a background gay character to like show up and have a subtextual relationship with another white dude. I'm really not into that, especially as like I have a lot of other gay books, like Jay's Gay Agenda, The Deeper Waters. Like, there's even a book like Who's the Best Man, and which is like actually has a trans mask gay romance. Like, and even like other fantasy series like House of the Dragon had like a gay character, or with Laenor Velaryon, who like got a much more improved handling like overall from the books. Was like, that was so nice and refreshing, especially like a friend of mine who's black and gay, like I remember like before the season came out, I told him, yeah, Laenor is gonna die, and he was really, really bummed and depressed. But then when they did the switch that he actually like faked his death and everything, we're probably gonna have to put like spoilers ahead of this or something for like certain things, but just while I'm on this thought, like Lenore real like that like made my friend elated, like because I really thought about that. Like I was like I couldn't think of any like barely any gay characters in most fantasy series, let alone like gay characters of color who actually got to live. Like that was really like so like breathtakingly refreshing and nice. And like maybe there's their own problems you can like kind of nitpick, especially like they're like House of the Dragon fandom has its own toxicity, but it was so nice and refreshing. But like meanwhile Ruby's just got fucking nothing.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of this could really be wrapped up in the sense of I think the fandom suffers heavily from toxic positivity and a really, really, really strong parasocial relationship with Rooster Teeth and the creators. I think Rooster Teeth in general had this sort of brand persona of simultaneously being a big company that is successful and competent, but also like this really small group of friends, and they're just making art and they're just sort of living their lives, and we're all supposed to be in this like parasocial relationship where we think that they're our friends and we're supposed to support them, and we're all supposed to have a first membership and not pirate Ruby just to help everybody out. And that's why they have all these personalities like Barb and Michael and Lindsay and all these other people, and that's why they have all these podcasts. And it's just like we're all supposed to feed into that and that image and persona, but then we forget, oh no, we don't know these people. They are not our friends. They don't care about us on an individual level, and a lot of people, they don't get that. So when you're criticizing Rwby, they're not just thinking, oh, I'm criticizing a show. They think, oh, well, you can't talk shit about Bumblebee because, Yang is Barb and Barb is my friend. But it's like, no, Barb isn't your friend. Barb doesn't know who you are. Like, it's like Barb herself said, it's a cartoon. Like, she doesn't know you. And I think a lot of Rwby fans, unfortunately, suffer from a really bad media diet, if I'm being quite honest. Like, they don't really watch a lot of things outside of Rwby's niche. Chances are if you watch Rwby, you probably have watched She-Ra or Arcane, which is like good. But this, even outside of that, there are just so many other avenues of queer representation, and I understand that a lot of people specifically can really only get into like fantasy sort of things. That's what they're into, and I understand that. But even in the fantasy or superhero or fantastical lane, the queer representation is much better elsewhere. I mean, like I just said, She-Ra, Arcane, The Owl House, Kipo, fucking, what was that show we were just talking about? Not Harley Quinn. Mysteries of Erebos, Dragon Prince. Yes, Dragon Prince. Like, fucking Interview with the, even with the live action shit, Interview with the Vampire was so good. Sandman was excellent. Like, and it's just like a lot of people don't really be checking for these other shows. I'm like, no, like, even like, unfortunately, I know, guys, First Kill got canceled, but First Kill was, even First Kill, like, that was so good. Like, that was very, very good. And
First Kill delivered. Like the fact that it actually had lesbian romance and they were actual people of color, and like people. So I know there's gonna be someone in the comments writing, but Yang and Blake were like people. Like, okay, these two characters were both played by white women, and like exist in a fantasy world. Their ethnicity is ambiguous at best, and Yang, like anyone who tries to say Yang is Chinese because she has a Chinese name, she's white and has blue eyes, and her father is blonde, white, and has blue eyes. This is not Naruto where like you have like the characters are actually based in like a different, like a creator from a non-white country like Japan. No, this is America. This was a.
I think in terms of racial coding, a lot of times in Japan they will, especially with anime, it is a lot of times anime is essentially like these, especially for the fantasy anime like Naruto and shit. It is fantasy. It is, you know, sort of this other aesthetic. So characters will often have hair colors that are not natural, like yellow or blonde or pink or blue or green, whatever. Just not natural hair colors. But like a lot of times, generally for Japanese anime or manga or whatever, characters are generally, because a lot of it's based in Japan, or like a lot of the settings are Japan, you know, like with Bleach, like in Bleach, Ichigo Kurosaki looks like a ginger boy, but he's Ichigo Kurosaki and he lives in Japan and he's a Japanese guy, you know, but Rwby is this American-made product, and like it's literally, people came up with it, Rooster Teeth, that's Texas. Like, it's not the same. So generally the characters in Rwby, they're white. They come off as white. They present as white. That's what they're giving. Yeah.
Like I would have like a different opinion if like look, I read a lot of comics. Like don't even get me started on how Starfire is often kind of like ambiguously Latina / black, like where she's been like she's been largely claimed as black and Latina even though she's an alien. But you know, that's like something like a lot of people like my black and Latina mutuals like are open about. Like they're like, she's sort of like she and like especially she's drawn more as like black more recently, especially after Aunt Anna Dio played her in the Titans TV show. But like in the comics, people, they're still like would we claim her as black? Is she canonically black? It's a different thing, so to speak. And even like from where I'm at with being Jewish, like there are certain characters who like I have a decent like precedent, I think, to claim, or I had to like bring up in order to claim. Like there's like actual basis, like more than just like pointing and saying the name or whatever. I don't feel like
I think specifically with that, a lot of it just comes down to people wanting to present Rwby as more progressive than it really is.
Yep.
And I think that's really unfortunate. Even you just said Titans. I love Titans. I'm gonna talk about Titans at some point. Maybe we'll talk about Titans at some point. Like, I was watching, I think it's in season 4 right now. They wrapped up the first half of season 4, I want to say in November. It was season 4 is so good. And I was kind of disappointed, because I'm getting off track. I was kind of disappointed because I felt like they kind of quiverated me a little bit with Superboy and Beast Boy. But then they made up for it because they brought in Tim Drake and gave Tim Drake a boyfriend immediately. And I'm like, yes, I stand. Like, yes, Titans. You are forgiven. Anywho, I don't want to get to my Titans for a second. But moving on, I actually do want to get into a little bit of like the controversy with Rooster Teeth, because we found out that they're not really paying the employees, and they kind of be treating them like slave labor, and like, and then the racism, and then all of the Glassdoor reviews, like, that's actually really insidious, and
The homophobia
I
and
think-
slurs.
I think specifically, and I had such, and this is why I really wanted to film this, because my opinions of this have kind of slightly changed. But I remember when the whole fair game incident came out, there was this post from, what is her name? Keaton Jensen, that's her name. And she's this trans woman, and she works at Racsim, yada, yada, yada. And basically she was responding to this other trans girl, and pretty much was kind of eating her up about being upset about the fair game incident. And we were all just kind of like, well, not we all, but a lot of us, me included, was just kind of like, I didn't really love that. And, you know, I'm doing something whole separately with that. I'm not going to get too much into that. But when I think 2020, late 2020, she came out with her own experience of, Rooster Teeth is not shit. Here's my experience. They called her slurs. They kind of just used her as a face of, oh, well, we're progressive because here's this trans girl and here she is. And like,
Keaton Jensen was this trans woman. She worked at Rooster Teeth, all of that. And she kind of had a situation where she ended up this other trans woman for being upset about the fair game situation. I'll talk about that in a separate situation. But essentially, in late 2022, she came out with her experience about how Rooster Teeth really mistreated her, and they were actually really abusive towards her, and they called her the F slur, and just was overall really awful. And then other people came out with their experiences about, yeah, they treated me like shit, yeah, they didn't pay me what I was worth, all these awful things. And a lot of people saw that as a really big betrayal, because again, like I said, they have this really strong parasocial relationship where they feel like everybody around them is a personality that they know personally. And I think it's really insidious, and not just insidious, it's malicious and intentional, because they did, from her own words, use her as a prop. When the whole May Marigold is trans, and she's played by this trans woman actress, she was kind of used as a meat shield to be like, hey, well, you can't really talk shit about XYZ because May Marigold is trans. But then, like, she wasn't even really around. She wasn't even really in the plot. She was just kind of there to be a token. And I think that just reveals the dark side of like how that corruption goes. And I don't really see how you can ethically support them at this point. Like, I think because like now it's like, okay, well, Rooster Teeth isn't even really gonna own Rwby like that anymore. It's now gonna be on Crunchyroll, and then it'll be on Rooster Teeth in a year. So they're like, oh, it's Rooster Teeth first. It's really not Rooster Teeth first. It's Rooster Teeth last, if it's gonna be in a year. And that doesn't make sense. At that point, it might as well just be on damn YouTube if it's not gonna be on Rooster Teeth. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, it's Rooster Teeth last, then it's not first. And I honestly feel like in a year's time, Rooster Teeth won't even exist, because I feel like what they're trying to do is they're trying to separate Rwby from Rooster Teeth, so when Rooster Teeth collapse, Rwby can still be something they can make money off of, which is honestly quite sad at this point, because I know we're not supposed to say this because it's like, I guess, considered rude, but I do hate that, like, what Monty created is just sort of like this corporate kind of soulless thing now, where people are just kind of passing it around and picking it apart at its bones. Like, I really hate that, because I do believe that this started out as a passion project. This started out as, three friends kind of coming together to create something, and through the years, it just kind of got more convoluted and crazy, and everything and I know this is not what Miles and Carrie or Monty, and I know that's not what they originally intended. I really hate that. I really hate that things have gotten to this point, and I honestly don't even know if Ruby's gonna make it to the end of whatever story they're trying to tell. Like, I know we have a volume 9, but are they greenlit for a volume 10? Like, is that happening?
I'm gonna be honest here, I highly doubt it, because, like, like, look, the fact of the matter is, Rwby does not have a lot of name recognition. It really doesn't. Like, most of these comics, or I mean, most of these, like if you go into other fandoms, people really don't know what Rwby and like anytime anyone does know about Rwby outside, like they're like, oh wow, that, like, I've heard nightmare stories. He's like, Rwby does not have that sort of name traction. It was always very niche, and the fandom's toxicity really blowing up in its face, because it really alienated a lot of people from ever wanting to actually get invested in and participate in the fandom. And like, I'm in several different fandoms. I'm in the Dragon Prince fandom, I'm in the DC fandom, I'm in the Marvel fandom, and you know what? Like, the DC fandom has existed for decades, Marvel has existed for decades. I've even gotten into Star Trek, and these are all really functional fandoms that still have like a good place in people's hearts, even if like you're through lows and whatnot. But like I've never had such a like uniform experience of so many people I know literally just every time you bring up Rwby, like when they came from that fandom, being like, it literally was the worst thing I ever went through, or it's as bad as Dream SMP or something. And like, I was never there, but I honestly think, well, my friend actually did say that she thinks that Rwby fandom was worse than the Dream SMP, which I've gotten some looks in there. It's a lot. But like, and the thing is, in regards to like the whole, like this was like a brainchild, like I do to a degree feel like pity, but at the same time, this is capitalism. I fucking hate capitalism, but this is what capitalism does with good, thoughtful, creativity and intentions. It gets eaten up, it gets torn apart, salvaged, and twisted. And I'm not coming here trying to be cold. I've been here, okay? Like especially as a Jewish person in the comic book who's really into comic books, literally we built that industry. Like Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, like Superman and Green Lantern and Spider-Man were all like created with as self inserts or whatnot for Jewish people and experiences. Like Superman was a whole like allegory for Moses. And like a stand-in for Jewish immigrants, and it's coming to America during the early 20th century. Green Lantern's entire power basis is literally like rooted in Greek mythos. It was with Hanukkah, like a light that's literally powered by willpower. I'm sorry, there's nothing more Jewish than that. And Spider-Man is like literally created by Stan Lee, a Jewish creator who designed all these like this character from the ground up and like literally sprinkled in like the character's been speaking in Yiddish for decades. He is Jewish, but so many of these things get washed out and lost or actively erased. And it's like the fact that Superman has become so heavily Christianized and is now people trying to argue he's a Jesus stand-in, when that is like, if you make like just other better or like people who articulated this, there's entire video essays I saw about how Superman is not a Jesus, should not be a Jesus allegory, and like it goes into it in depth, but it's really frustrating to like see how these things get twisted and even actively erased. In the case of like Pietro and Wanda, like they literally had their Jewishness erased in the comics because of the film rights dispute between Marvel and like Disney and Fox. Like they just took away the fact that Magneto, a Jewish Holocaust survivor, is like their father. And the thing is, like, you can very clearly see in those comics that the writers, this was not a creative decision, because literally every comic that has come out since then featuring Wanda, Pietro, and Magneto disregards that retcon altogether and still just has him say, I'm your father, and she's like, he's my father, even though like technically if we're supposed to go based on like the continuity, he shouldn't be, or the like Marvel doesn't want us to think he is like anymore, even though he's literally was so for over 3 decades. It's frustrating to see that actively erased or co-opted and ruined, especially if you like, it's really interesting. Grace Randolph, like Max, I know you like have watched her content before, but like she did a review of Wanda's new comic, and actually said, she's like, you know, I like, they really portrayed Wanda as like a Romani woman, which like, that's great for representation, but you know, it really makes like the MCU, like Elizabeth Olsen and as Wanda, seem really bad, you know, it gives her a bad look that like, that she's playing a character who's a woman of color in the comics. And I'm like, yeah, of course it's bad, because she never should have been cast with a white goyish woman in the first place. She is a Romani Jewish woman. And so like, I have sympathy, I truly do, but like at the same time, I can't say that this, I'm surprised. Like, this is just the nature of what happens, and that's just kind of the unfortunate truth.
I get it. I still think it's really sad, because I personally, and I was talking to Thomas about this the other day. In hindsight, I really feel like after we lost Monty, and you know, they did Volume 3, I really think they just should have wrapped it up then. Just called it a wrap then. I think it was. I all I can do about intentions is speculate. So I don't know these people. I don't know them for sure. I think they had the intention of, ooh, we're gonna carry on the legacy and finish it. Obviously, that hasn't gone very well. It hasn't. So I just, in hindsight, 2020, maybe we just should have wrapped that up in Volume 3 and called that a day, and that just would have been a tragic thing that happened. But to wrap it,
I can't think of any real benefits towards like the series has really made outside of Ilya, but even in that, Ilya really the show didn't invest in Ilya like it should have. Like, this was a really great.
It really sent her off after Volume 5. She was a vengeful lesbian in Volume 5, and then in Volume 6, bye bitch. Like, get off my screen. We need ambiguous lesbians, not canon lesbians. Like,
it does feel like that, and the fact that like they were just not willing to show up. They were not showing, like, actually putting effort into meaningful representation in any way, and it really shows. And like, so many other shows have come in and done better things, like making like again, Rwby, Catchador, like we just like list all these are all shows that I think have had a real meaningful positive impact. But the thing is, like, if someone like, no one I know now says that May Marigold was an impactful trans character for them, because like the thing is, like, I can't even like, look, I used to like try and like at least go in with the positivity of being like, well, you know, this was at least something because we are so lacking in trans representation. But like, I don't think that's an excuse, and especially like, it's tainted now. Like, we can't look at this character anymore because now, like, I know that the voice actress was getting called like homophobic slurs, which was also misgendering her, so they were homophobic on top of transphobic. It's just like, especially it's like, are we gonna see any more of this character? Look, like, in an idealized, or I don't even, that's not my ideal, but like someone's idealized universe where the show keeps going, like, what happens when May Marigold, like, are we gonna ever see any more of May Marigold again? Like, are they going to do that with the voice actress having left the series and called it out? Are they gonna try and, is like Crunchyroll gonna call Kaden back in? Is she gonna even want to return? Like, it's just, what are you supposed to do there? And no situation really looks good or positive or nice. It's all yikes on any, and it's really sad because like the actress like Nicole Maines, like, who played like Dreamer on the CW, like, she's actually getting to write Dreamer. She's getting writing credits in the comics, like actual comics for her character, because she's like contributing on that. She's actually getting a major career boost. Even though the CW show ended, her impact is still living on. She is still doing meaningful, great things, and I am so happy for her. But like, is Kaden? Like, Kaden like had to like kind of like did what most like actual like, at least what we think of heroic, is doing, and like spoke out about abuse that she went through. But at the same time, there's also the fact she kind of helped cover it up for a long period of time, which like I can't fully blame her like on some degree, because like again, like you have to sort of toe the line in order to keep your job and to hope to do anything in positive in the future. But like she, just any situation you look at, there's something unfortunate about it. And like, how do we pave forward with this character, with this show? Like, especially like, can they even do any more trans representation in this show? Because now that's gonna live in the shadow of all the abuse Kaden went through. Like, it's just, I don't know how.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot. Yeah.
And I just, going forward, I don't really know where to go from here. I'm not saying that I'll never watch Rwby again, because anybody who knows me, I do love a train wreck, and I do like to see how things explode. But that excitement I had when I was covering volume 7 and 8, it's not there anymore. It's gone. And I think maybe like the fact that Rwby hasn't been here for 2 years, so it's like I've gone like multiple Octobers and Novembers without having new Rwby content. Maybe the spell is just broken. I don't know. I'm just not really excited or enthusiastic to make Rwby content. That's why I haven't made a single Rwby video since my volume 8. Well, let me take that back. I did do the soundtrack, but that's mainly because I'm a music girly. But I haven't really made any hardcore Rwby content since volume 8 ended 2 years ago. So I'm just, again, I'm not saying I'll never watch Rwby again. I tried to watch Ice Queendom. I watched like 3 episodes of that, and I did a video on that, and then I gave up because I was like, this is not giving. And then the dub came out. I was okay, I watched the dub. The dub, I saw a clip of the dub because Crunchyroll posted like the promotional clip. It sounded awful. I mean, I like dubs. When I do anime, I prefer dubs, but I'm just like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. And I was like, I know these girls can do better than this. Like, come on, Lindsay. I know you can do better. Like, what is this? So I couldn't. But maybe I'll watch volume 9 when it's done, and I might talk about it. Maybe. We'll see. As far as like this though, like this podcast, Queer Coded with Maxwell and Al, you will be seeing more of that. Me and Al are gonna have a very like regular recording schedule. If you're in the Discord, you'll probably get access to that as soon as I'm done editing that. And then as far as episodes go, I think publicly y'all should most likely get 2 a month. But is there anything else you want to say about Rwby before we wrap up? Like, your final thoughts, I guess.
Just that it sucks. I want my if any of the writers or people at Rooster Teeth ever hear this, I want my $20 for my $10 for the Clover in the Amity Arena back already. After I got double charged like by the stupid app. So yeah, I'm still waiting on that, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm here to watch it burn. I like, this show has hurt me. It's hurt people I cared about. This company's abuses are inexcusable. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people try and look at the positive side or the hopeful side, but this show has done too much. The real world stuff they've done is so terrible. I'm sorry. This is just beyond the pale for me. Yeah, but
and I respect that. You know, I definitely love watching things burn. So,
yeah. I'm sorry, my mic was off for a second. But no, yeah, I definitely respect that. I could definitely respect wanting to see some burn that has fucked you over. And I don't know if you're gonna get your $20 back. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I'm rooting for it. I'm definitely rooting for it. But yeah, y'all. yeah, they owe you that damn money. But yeah, like, leave ideas for things y'all want us to talk about. They don't have to be queer related. They can be like movies or shows or anything. Like, I don't know. We're just here to have fun. That's really what this is. We're just like two queer people wanting to have fun talking about media and stuff. And yeah, that's what Maxwell Media Inc. is about. So, the Discord is free. I'm gonna leave the Discord in the description. Go check it out. Join. We do stuff in there. Or at least we try to do stuff in there. We're trying to be better about that stuff this year. Follow Al on Twitter. Al has really good tweets. I follow Al on all my Twitter accounts, and it's a good time. Follow me on Twitter. It's great. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Let's get to that 1K finally. And I'll leave that in the description. I'll leave all of our Twitter handles and subscribes and Discord. I'll leave all of that in the description. And yeah, I will talk to y'all later. May the power protect you. Bye-bye.